There was once a young man named Aaron who grew up in a small town surrounded by simple lives and modest expectations. The people in his town worked hard, but they believed success meant only survival. A roof over your head, food on the table, and a little money saved. Aaron's parents loved him deeply, but they often said, "Don't dream too big, son. Life is hard. Be grateful if you just get by." And so Aaron grew up believing that greatness was reserved for others. People born rich, people with connections, people from big cities. He dreamed of opening a small shop someday. Nothing grand, just enough to survive. But deep inside, he often felt restless, like his soul was whispering, "You were made for more." One day, during a hot summer afternoon, Aaron was sitting under a tree, reading a book an old teacher had given him. The book was about inventors, leaders, and dreamers who had changed the world. For the first time, Aaron read stories of people who started with nothing. Farmers who became industrialists, poor students who became scientists, ordinary workers who became visionaries. The book's message was simple. The size of your life is determined by the size of your thinking. Aaron closed the book, stunned. Could it really be true? Could thinking bigger actually change his life? That night, he lay awake staring at the ceiling. His thoughts raced. If others started small and achieved great things, why not me? What if I stopped limiting myself? What if I dared to dream beyond a tiny shop? What if I thought big, but immediately fear answered back, "What if you fail? What if people laugh at you? What if you're not smart enough, not rich enough, not good enough?" Aaron realized his greatest enemy was not the world outside. It was the world inside his own head. The next morning, he made a decision. He would start challenging his small thinking. Instead of dreaming of a little shop, he began sketching plans for a business that could serve not just his town, but the entire region. He had no money, no resources, no experience, but he had an idea, and for the first time, he gave himself permission to think big. When he shared his dream with his friends, they laughed. "Aaron, don't be foolish. You're from here, just like us. No one from this town builds big things. Stay realistic." Even his parents shook their heads. "Son, you'll only disappoint yourself. Why not aim smaller? Why not stay safe?" The doubt stung. But Aaron reminded himself of the book's lesson. The size of your life is determined by the size of your thinking. So he started where he was, with what he had. He worked long nights, saved every penny, and studied successful people relentlessly. Whenever fear crept in, he asked himself, what would happen if I dared to think bigger? At first, progress was painfully slow, but his vision pulled him forward. He realized something profound. When you think small, you attract small opportunities. But when you think big, you begin to see possibilities others miss. 1 year later, Aaron was no longer the young man dreaming under a tree. He was now a man with a plan too big for his little town, but exactly the size his soul had been waiting for. And this was only the beginning. Aaron's journey was not smooth. Thinking big does not mean obstacles disappear. It means you face them with a bigger mindset. His first attempt at expanding his small venture collapsed. He invested his savings in a partnership that failed, leaving him nearly broke. His friends pointed at him and whispered, "We told you so." His parents begged him to give up and take a safe job. For a moment, Aaron almost surrendered. But then he remembered. Failure is not a signal to think smaller. It's a lesson to think bigger and smarter. So he stood back up, read more, learned more, and improved his strategies. He knocked on doors, pitched his ideas to people far outside his comfort zone, and kept pushing even when rejection piled up. Slowly, people began to notice something different about Aaron. His belief was contagious. His energy was magnetic. He spoke with vision, not limitation. He built a small team of believers, people who also wanted more from life. Together they worked late nights, facing setbacks, but always fueled by Aaron's big vision. Years passed. The boy who once thought a tiny shop was his limit now stood as the owner of a thriving business that served thousands. His company expanded beyond his town, beyond his region, even beyond his country. Aaron became a leader, not because he was the smartest or richest, but because he dared to think bigger than his circumstances. But Aaron never forgot where he started. He often returned to that tree where he once read the book that changed his life. And whenever he saw young dreamers sitting there, lost in thought, he told them, "Don't let the size of your environment determine the size of your dreams. Don't let fear dictate your vision. The world belongs to those who think big. The moment you expand your mind, you expand your life." His story spread, inspiring countless others to believe in the power of big thinking. And here is the lesson. Thinking big is not about arrogance or greed. It's about refusing to settle for less than your potential. Small thinking creates small results. Big thinking creates big possibilities. You may not have wealth, you may not have connections, you may not even have support. But if you dare to think big and act on it, you will create a life far larger than the one you were told to accept. Aaron's journey proves one thing. The greatest power you have is not in your hands, but in your mind. When you discipline your mind to see beyond limitations, the impossible begins to look possible. So, dare to think big, expand your vision. Refuse to settle. And remember, the size of your success will always match the size of your thinking. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more motivational content. Think big, because your life will always rise to the level of your thoughts.